Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast with your hosts George Tsounyas
and Maria Petrakou. Absolutely loving that enthusiasm, George. Now today we are talking about an island that many of you have requested, and it is the island of Lefkada. Lefkada is an island in the Ionian Sea and very well known for being quite green, full of trees, it's amazing beaches, with one of the most known being one called Porto Katsiki. Ain't that right, George?
It is indeed, and I'm super excited today because it has been a while since we've been recording, so we're a bit rusty, but we're back to recording. So this island is an island we have both visited separately before we even knew each other, before our paths crossed. So I will be providing some tips too. It is a very, very popular island for sailing, but this episode has been designed mainly for those who are going to be staying on the island and want to explore it. But before we dive in or sail into the episode, or is it sail off? Sail into the sunset. Anyway, if you're not following us on Instagram, head over now and hit that follow button on the Insta handle at My Greek Island.
And also, if you enjoy this podcast, head over to the podcast platform of your choice and give us a rating or maybe even a review, because it does help us keep coming back with more content.
Exactly, and especially those on Apple Podcasts, because apparently if you like or if you review or rate it, it bumps it up on the the charts. Maybe we could chart one day.
We need to get on the charts. And also on the Spotify, I do need to check it. I think there's a Q&A below each episode now. So yes, definitely go and submit those questions if you have any, and we will be getting back to you.
Lovely. Even more work to be getting on with. Yay. Anyway, so without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island, with your hosts George and Maria.
The island of Lefkada. As we said, an island we both visited before we even met. It's the most western island of the Ionian that is actually connected to the mainland by a bridge. So for those who are not a fan of taking the ferry or who get a bit, seasick, you will notice there is a big port as you cross the bridge with lots of tourist yacht hires. And that's usually where they start off from, I believe. It's a sort of hub for sailing. And you can see why with its access to an airport and also the proximity to islands in the north and the south. The island is very, very green, and some famous beaches that we're obviously going to delve into.
As you said, the island does have a bridge to the mainland, and although it doesn't offer its own airport, within very close proximity, we have the airport of Breveza, known as Aktion, and it's only a 20-minute drive from Lefkada. So perfect, as you said, perfect for people that don't want to take the ferry, super easy to get there. The airport works only during the summer months, mainly with chartered flights. So I think the flights start in May. So mainly coming from European countries. You don't get many domestic flights coming into this airport. I think there's a few from some islands, Crete especially, that I'm aware of. But you do have many flights from European countries, especially the UK. You've got loads of flights going in from the UK. So bear that in mind if you want to visit this island. Now, handing back to you, sorry.
Yeah, and I also know that BA fly there, I think. So if you're transiting internationally, Excellent. And the also thing in the notes you researched that it flies from Sitia in Crete,
Yes.
which is really random. Like I wonder why. Like it's just a bit of a random.
So Sidia is an airport that actually connects to quite a few islands, not just a few domestic airports. So don't be surprised. You might hear it on some other episodes.
Yeah, true. And there are also lots of museums on the island. There's even a statue of Maria's fave Onassis, and even some waterfalls. So we need to find out if actually they exist and if they're actually waterfalls, not like when we've looked for waterfalls before. And also, I can see here on my notes, you've been there 3 times.
Wait, before we go there, let's talk about Onassis. You can't talk about my obsession and not talk about, not give a bit of info. Do you know why there's a statue of Onassis on the island?
Well, if I'd read the notes, probably, but I actually don't.
Did you not know that the island of Skorpios?
Oh, the island of Skorpios.
Okay.
Yes, it's his island.
Yeah, so it was his island. So in very close proximity from Lefkada, there is a privately owned island called Skorpios, which was owned by the Onassis family. I'll talk about it a bit further down in the episode. So there were very close ties between the Onassis family and the people of Lefkada. And fun fact is that the island of Skorpios is actually even more greener than Lefkada because when he purchased the island, he planted the entire island with trees. So fun fact. Anyway, going back to the fact that I've been 3 times. I have been 3 times. Yes. Once when I was at university many years ago. There was a conference, so I attended the conference in Lefkada.
What a maths conference or like?
Yeah, so now everyone knows I'm a mathematician.
Yes.
It was a statistics conference, so from universities, I think all over. I don't think it was just Greece. I think it was all over Europe, and we met in Lefkada.
Lovely.
And yeah, the second time I went was on holiday with friends. Actually, no. The second time I went was not on holiday with friends. That was the third time I went. The second time I was on a retreat in Ithaca.
Ooh.
And I got itchy feet. And halfway through the retreat, I said to them, see you later. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm going to Lefkada. And I just left. And I remember.
What, was the retreat that bad?
No, the retreat was amazing. But like after 4 days, I'm like, I cannot do this. I cannot do this any longer. I need to be in my element. So I got up and left. And I remember my dad said to me, but your flight is back. You know, you're going to miss your flight. And I said to him, don't worry about it. And he got really upset and he said to me, I don't understand why you book return flights if you never take them.
Is that a theme? Have you done that before?
I've done that many times. So hence why he was getting a bit angry. And I said to him, Baba, don't worry about it. It wasn't as if he was paying for it. It was coming out of my pocket. And I said to him, don't worry. I'm 1 ticket poorer, but 1 island richer. And he's like, I give up.
Yeah, one more island of the 227 Greek islands.
Only that I'd been to that
islands.
one before.
Yeah, well. So we touched upon how we get there, but do you want to go into a bit more detail about getting to Lefkada?
Yeah, so as we said, the easiest way is to fly into Breveza Airport, which is known as Aktion International Airport. You can, as we said, you can fly there super easily during the summer season. And one thing I'd like to mention is it's super convenient for a road trip in general. We're going to mention this throughout the episode, in that it's perfectly combined with, you know, doing the coast and Lefkada if you want to get a bit more in. But if you wanted to, and I did this the third time I visited, you could actually go from Athens. It's a long drive. I think it's about 5 hours. We stopped in so many destinations on the way. So if you wanted to, you could start from Athens and you can see a lot, but you do need to be prepared that there's going to be a lot of driving. But if you're up for it, it's definitely worth it. But if you don't want to fly into, just fly in and do Lefkada by itself, you can always do neighboring islands that have airports. So, for example, the closest ones are Kefalonia or Zakynthos, and you can then take a boat between them. But as we said, the fastest, quickest, and easiest way is to fly to Preveza and then rent a car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, how getting around the island? I'm guessing, obviously, you could sail around the island or the islands.
Yeah.
Or by car to actually really explore it.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine you did it by car as well when you were there. But renting a car is definitely the easiest option. However, we know that driving in Greece is not for everyone. So if you don't want to rent a car, you do have the option. The island does offer many taxis and bus routes, although caveat that if you do want to, rely on taxis and buses, then it's probably best that you stay in the capital town of the island, which is also called Lefkada, like the island, because that's where the routes usually start from.
Yeah. I remember that we had a car because I went with my dad and my stepmom, and it was great. We had the car, but on the last day, I had to get to the airport on my own from one of the towns, and the bus literally took forever to come. Like, I thought it wasn't going to come; I was going to miss my flight. So, whilst it was it was peak season, the bus was not as reliable as I thought. Once I got into the main town, it was easy to get around and to get to the airport. But
yeah. So another reason of staying in the main town, if you want that, because I mean, once you got the bus from the main town, it must have been super easy to get to the
super easy to the airport. Yeah. But on the topic of sailing, just random question, how do you feel about sailing to the islands? Because I feel like sometimes you're going to miss out exploring the actual full island, because with the boat, obviously you're docking at like a really lovely beach. You're seeing just like the immediate vicinity, but you're not going into an island.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to have a car on each of the islands, are you? Unless you're taking a huge yacht with a car on. Like, who does that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't think.
Well, there are people.
There are people, but that's probably not going to be us.
Anytime soon.
No,
you
in
never
the
know.
immediate future, you never know.
Yeah.
But my opinion on sailing is can you imagine me? I'm putting myself on the spot here, exposing myself, by the way, my Greek islanders. Can you imagine me, George, being on a boat with 10 other people?
No comment.
I'd probably have a panic attack. I need my space.
But if it's the two of us and a skipper.
Well, if it's going to be just the two of us and a skipper, that means the cost is going to go up sky high.
Yeah,
but I would do. But you know what? I think what I do prefer, because you know how much I love to drive. You know how much I love to explore.
Yeah, you do. Thank God you like driving.
Yeah. Guess who drives on our holidays? I also love to interact with the people. I do like going to some weird beaches, although we've trekked to quite a few weird off the beaten track beaches, and I really enjoyed that process. But I think for me, the optimum is not to be on a yacht, but to be on the land, on the island, and to be able to experience a bit of both. So maybe like renting a boat to go somewhere, which from what I understand, you're going to talk about further down.
Yeah.
So that for me is the optimum. But I mean, who do you before we dive into that, George, who do you think this island is for?
Yeah, I know we say it quite often, but I genuinely think because of the accessibility in terms of getting there and how it's connected, I would say it's definitely suitable for families, couples, friends, water sports fans. There's lots of stuff to do, not just sailing, but there's kind of water sports on the western side of the island. So yeah, I would say, especially if you're coming from the UK, because it's so accessible with flights.
It is.
Sometimes for families, the flights are really important.
True.
So yeah.
The only thing I would caveat though for families is the fact that not all of the beaches are children appropriate, if that's the best way to say it, because some of the beaches, especially the famous ones like Porto Katsiki, they do get very deep very fast. So you do need to keep that in mind if you're traveling to Lefkada with small children. But there are many children-friendly beaches.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you think you're going to get itchy feet on an island, and you've got a car, you can do some traveling up the coast, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So that's also another good thing.
Yeah, with Barga and Sivoda being the most popular areas to visit close to Lefkada. I've done them on a road trip, but you could even do them like for a day trip if you wanted to, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And how long do you think we would need to be in Lefkada? And briefly touching about what we could combine it with, because we like a bit of a combo.
Personally, I think Lefkada needs a minimum of 5 days. And the reason that I say that is because there's so many beaches. Like, there's loads of beaches, and it's a very underestimated island when it comes to the beaches.
It really is, yeah.
And there's lots of things to do. And it's also got like a mountainous region, which is definitely worth visiting. And I will mention it further down because it's one of my top tips for the island. So I would say 5 days is an ideal amount of time. It, as we said previously, can be perfectly combined with the mainland on the west coast of Greece. Or you can do what I did on reverse and combine it with Ithaca, which is where I was on the yoga retreat and ended up in Lefkada. But bear in mind that the boats from Ithaca, I don't know if this has changed, but until recently I know this was the case. The boats from Ithaca were not connected to Lefkada to the main port, but to the port of Vasiliki. So just bear that in mind. So you're
make
effectively,
sure you do your research.
yeah. So effectively, you will be left on the completely other side of the island, not the port that's closer to the bridge and the airport.
Yeah, perfect. And I think there's a nearby town that you can visit from Lefkada, which is Parga. I think it's around 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
But Parga is very, very popular. In the UK, it's well known. It's a really nice sort of town. Did you go? Have you been there?
Yes, I have.
Would you confirm is it approved? It looks approved to me from the pictures.
It's very picturesque.
Yeah.
There are some very nice beaches in close proximity. The town is very beautiful to like have a meal or a drink. There's a beautiful cocktail bar like on the top, which you have a nice view. And you are also close to the river of Acheronda, which has mythological significance and is definitely worth going. You can do rafting, etc.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It really like from the pictures that I've seen in Parga, it gives me Amalfi Coast vibes. I don't know why. It might not be anything like it, but or is it Cinque Terre? It's those picturesque houses.
It's the colourful houses that have given
houses.
And I would say more Cinque Terre rather than
Cinque
Amalfi.
Terre. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Where would you recommend people stay? We stayed on the eastern side, in a small little town. I think it was Nidri.
I've stayed in Nidri before as well. So
yeah.
I think the answer to this question depends on quite a few factors. Are you going to have a car? Yes, no. If you're not going to have a car, then I would definitely recommend the town of Lefkada. Otherwise, you're going to struggle with the buses like you did, George. If you're with children or not, if you want a more islandy vibe or not. So, for example, in the town of Lefkada, I've stayed in the town of Lefkada a few times. I think 2 of the 3 times I was there. Yes, 2 of the 3 times I was there, I was in Lefkada, and the 3rd I was in Nidri. So in Lefkada, you've got lots of bars and restaurants nearby, but it caveat that it doesn't give you that island feel because many of the locals actually live there. But you do have a plethora of restaurants and bars at your footsteps. But then many people prefer, like within very close proximity of the town of Lefkada, you've got lots of villas and like holiday complexes where you can stay. So you can dip in and out, but you can still have that island feel. Nidri is a great place to stay, although it has significantly developed over the years and become a bit more touristic for my liking. So another 2 areas that I will mention if you want a bit more peaceful and more of that islandy vibe, Vasiliki and Agios Nikitas are probably a bit more secluded than Lefkada. So those are the options that I personally would prefer to stay.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes. Now, we know that Lefkada, like most of the Ionian, and we've mentioned, are quite popular for sailing, but it's also popular to rent a boat. So George loves to be on a boat, even more than me. So George, give us some pointers.
To be fair, people don't know, when I grew up in Greece, my parents had a sailing boat and used to take sailing trips, and I used to be subjected to going on them every single day for the whole season. And I used to hate going on the sailing boat. But now I couldn't think of anything. But I mean, I don't think I'd want to travel around sleeping on it, but I like it for the day trip. So as we mentioned, Lefkada is a very popular sailing destination, and you're likely to see many yachts in the main port, and it's because of the proximity to the other islands. But if you're not a sailing enthusiast, or even like if you don't want to spend like, you know, days and nights on a boat, you can actually take the option of hiring a small boat. Now, these are low speed and can be taken without a boat license. They're not sailing boats. They're low speed, little, what do you call them, like boats. Like they're just very small. Like you can get 4 or 5 people on. We hired our boat from the town of Nikiana, so it's the eastern part of the island, for the day. And from there, we headed out due south to explore some of the smaller islands that there's no one really on them. Stopped off at various beaches of choice. Recommend going early and inquiring before, if it's a peak season, about availability. And we also went past the island that Maria, Skorpios.
Yay. So I want to plug something here.
Yeah.
You actually, so I imagine that you just went by the island of Skorpios.
Yeah, I don't think you can go on it.
You cannot. So in order to visit the island, you actually need a special permit. But you can go around it with a boat, and you can admire it from afar. You can even see I think there was a pier that was built that comes out of the water where Jackie Kennedy walked on when she got married to Onassis. And I mean, if you guys have not figured out yet, I have an obsession with the Onassis family. You clearly haven't listened to the episode, The Voices Behind the Podcast. So if you haven't, go listen to it, where I talk about how he is the one person that if he was still alive, I would definitely have wanted to interview him. Now, 2013, the island was sold. And he didn't just, so the Onassis family didn't just own Skorpios, they also owned a neighboring island called Sparta, which is a small island next to it. So the two in 2013 were sold to the trust of a very wealthy Russian man, of the trust of his daughter, Ekaterina Rubolovleva. That's that, I've said that correctly. And rumors have it that they're going to turn the island into a very luxurious touristic unit, offering space only for 40 guests, offering full luxury and full privacy.
Are you going to be trying to get on that island, hun?
I just want to see his house, how it was before.
Yeah, there you go. Do they offer tours of the house? Is it still there?
I don't think
that will
it's
be
still
part...
there, to be honest. I think they're turning it into, I don't know if...
Into a proper, like, tourist.
My dream has always been to have, like, literally visited the island of Skorpios and actually been in his house, or been on, visit. I wish they had turned it into a tourist attraction, honestly. I would have been the first one there, or been on his boat, Christina.
I mean, we did go past it on the boat, and we also stopped off for lunch on the island of Meganisi, which was super nice seafood restaurants, literally on the harbour, so you can like park up. It's just a really nice day out. Like it was a full day, and I think there's some other islands.
Yes,
that you can.
There's 2 that I've been mentioning to you, which I actually wanted us to go to last year. I don't know if you remember, which is Galamos and Gastos.
Are they? Can you stay on them?
You can. They're actually inhabited.
Wow.
And I've been researching Gastos quite a lot because I discovered this bar, and I started messaging them to find out how inhabited is this island. And apparently they are very secluded. So definitely an amazing place to go and switch off. So bear in mind we're going at some point.
We are.
Yeah, but I mean, George, when you were talking about taking a boat and just, it really stresses me out, because I know that you do have a lot of experience, but I've never driven a boat before, and I imagine that many of our listeners might not have driven a boat before. So could it be quite daunting for some?
Well, I think it could. I mean, my dad was driving the boat most of the time, and he's like a well-seasoned sailor. He grew up sailing, but these boats are they're so small. I drove it for a bit. They don't go that fast. They're really easy to maneuver. And I think I would definitely do it again. Obviously, if it was really windy or there was adverse conditions anywhere near, I would not be going on the water. I'd be a bit scared. But it was very, very easy. And one of the things I would recommend when hiring one is just to ask about the fuel price, because obviously you're consuming fuel, but you need to know how much that fuel will cost. So it's sometimes not included in the price. So if you bring it back, you have to pay for the fuel that you've used. So if you literally run it to the ground, you need to know how much that costs. And we know fuel prices are quite expensive at the moment. So bear that in mind. But yeah, I think it's a good way to explore the island, some more islands, and have a little day trip.
Yeah.
And they have like a little, parasol thing. So you can, I really loved it. Definitely do it again.
Although for those that might find the idea a bit too daunting, there are boats that leave from the main port of Lefkada and, head off on either a trip around Scorpios or on the neighbouring islands. However, you will be sharing that boat with many other people. So you have to leave at a predefined time. You'll all be jumping in the sea at the same time. So it could not be everyone's cup of tea, but it is an option. So I think that brings us perfectly into our next subject. George, I'm going to hand over to you first. Tell our listeners about the beaches.
Beaches, gorgeous. So the first one, Porto Katsiki, which would mean like the goat port, which I didn't see any goats, I don't think. Did you see? I don't think goats were on my radar then, but now they really are. Everywhere I go, I'm like, I need to see a goat. Anyway, so Porto Katsiki, it's probably the most famous. There's around 80 steps to get down. It looks just like the pictures and the beach, turquoise blue, but you need to go early in peak season because it gets very, very busy. And when I mean early, talking like George and Maria early, like 9 a.m. on the beach.
Yeah, that is true. Although the steps are not difficult at all to get down.
No, it's not difficult. I'm just giving a bit of a, because there's one coming up in Gremi, which I actually wasn't lucky to go to because it was closed when I was there. I think you have some info on that, but that one I've got on my notes next to it because people told us is steps.
Yeah, so Engremni is one of the most famous along Porto Katsiki of the island. In 2000, so I went in 2015 before the earthquake. I went, but I did not go down the stairs. And then shortly after I left that year, there was an earthquake which literally destroyed the stairs, and until recently this beach was only accessible via boat, and you can still go by boat, and I still think that's the most popular way to get there. But if you want to, they have now in 2021 reopened a new staircase, over 400 stairs, so brace yourself if you're going to go there.
Yeah, and also the boats that we hired were on the east of the island. This is on the west. I don't know about boat hire on the west of the island because it's more exposed. It's like more open waters, whereas the east it's more covered. Anyway, the third beach is Paralia Kathisma, which is Kathisma is like chair beach. I don't know why it's called
sit.
That, but
it means sit.
Sit, a seat. Yeah, seat. Yeah. It was my favorite, but that's probably because we visited at sunset, and I said it's on the western side of the island. Sunset vibes. There was also some paragliding taking place above me. So there's lots of water sports there as well. It's an organized beach with bars, restaurants on the seafront, so perfect for families, I would say. Overall,
or someone
I really
that
like
wants
this
a beach bar as well. But so
Yeah,
is not one of my favorite beaches, to be honest, because there's a lot of music.
Organised.
It's too organized for me,
Yeah.
There's a lot of music going on in the background, which is not my cup of tea. But it is a beautiful beach. I don't want to disadvantage it in any way. And yes, you can get some great sunsets.
And the color, I don't know if it's something in the water. I forgot the name, but it'll be a sort of a material in the water, like earth material. I don't know what it's called, but makes it look even more blue.
Yeah.
And the next one, which is near Kalamitsi village, is called Kavalikefta Beach. It's quite hard. We're going to put it all in the show notes. It's smaller, organized, and it's nestled between rocks, and it can get a few waves going in between the rocks. Still turquoise blue, really good for some Instagram pictures if you want to have like the wave and the rock and all that jazz. I think it's a good one. I really like this beach as well.
Also great for a sunset. It's very close.
Also great for a sunset. Yeah.
So, and
I remember you had to go down quite a bit of a road, like it's a windy road to get to this one. So yeah.
Yeah, and then
My dad was
very
driving,
close
so that was
to Gathisma and the last beach that George mentioned. I'm not going to say it because I'm a bit tired. I'm definitely going to pronounce it wrong. There are two more beaches. One is called Megali Petra and the other one is called Avali. Oh my God, I don't remember where it's supposed to be stressed.
That's the problem with Greek, where they have accents. So where the accent goes, you have to pronounce it on the letter.
It's
So
Avali
really
Beach.
hard. So
Avali Beach. I think
Avali.
it's Avali. So they're all on the same strip. So turquoise water, wild exotic settings. These two are slightly organized. So they're not as organized as Gathisma. So recommend bringing your own supplies. And they too have great sunsets. So you have alternatives unless in the case you don't want to go to a super organized beach nearby.
Slightly organised, meaning Maria's slightly interested in the beach. Although I'm pretty sure this summer we're going to go to some organised beach and I'm going to expose you for it. Just saying. And the fifth one...
the last time we went to an organised beach, you were on a sunbed and I was sleeping in the sand. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. But, we only go on holiday for a good amount of time, like once or twice a year. I like a nice sunbed with the cushioned one.
Yeah, you go once or twice a year.
Yeah, that's what I said. Well, I was talking about me. You go more. But when I do, I like to have, if I can, the little mattress one. You can sit there, have a little siesta. Oh, lovely. Anyway, and the final one that I'm going to mention is on the southern tip of the island called Amusa Beach. It's pebbly, so if you don't like pebbles, not for you, but you won't get sand everywhere. It's organised, but it's quite nice because it's sheltered from the winds. I think it's like a little bay, so you're not going to, if it's a windy day, you're going to have a good time there.
And then two more that are protected from the winds but are known to be family-friendly beaches is Ayos Nikitas Beach and Mikros Yalos. So if you're taking small children, note those down. Shallow waters, protected from the winds.
Sounds like this should have been a great one for you to go with your family.
It was one of the options.
Oh,
it was one of the options.
It was one of
the options. The flights
and
were
it didn't make it.
Flights were the problem actually, and
really?
hence why it didn't make it on the list.
And also there is, as we said before, with Paralia Gathisma, but other beaches, there's lots of kite surfing, windsurfing, especially on the western side where you can get more wind. It's more windy, and you can even do some paragliding. So I saw paragliding over Gathisma Beach, but there are some other beaches. Befkulia, which is close to the main town, and so if you like water skiing and water sports, another good option for you.
Yeah, with Vasiliki being the most popular for windsurfing.
Yeah. And there are other things you can do on the island, as we discovered. There's museums, so including an olive museum. There are wineries, monasteries, and waterfalls. We haven't come to that yet. One winery that looks of interest that Maria hasn't been to. I don't know how you've missed it, but neither of us have visited.
I know, and it's and Lefkada is actually a destination which actually produces a lot of wine.
Wasn't it your wine tasting era, or just you were? I
was drinking wine at the time.
Yeah.
I was definitely. I remember I went to a restaurant specifically because they had a very good wine list. I've no idea why I didn't visit this winery though.
Yeah, I mean this winery called Lefkáda's Earth is near the village of Sivoda, and according to its website and our research, offers a free wine tour that lasts around 20 minutes. So if you do go there, say My Greek Island podcast recommended it, so they can get in touch and offer us some free wine. No, I'm joking. I mean, I don't even drink that much wine.
I'm going to add one more
Yeah.
thing, and then we should probably chat about the waterfalls.
Yes.
There is a village called Exanthia, which I personally think that you must visit. There's a very famous cafe bar restaurant called Rahi. Anyone you ask knows it that's gone to Lefkada. It literally is, you sit there and you feel that you're in the clouds. So I would definitely recommend Googling some images. And it's very famous for people going up for a cocktail at sunset. Or early afternoon, because it's literally like you're in the clouds. And then I would also definitely add to the list, there's a little village called Yeni. It's like a little port. It's like a little, I don't even know how to explain this, but you can see opposite another village of Lefkada, of the island, but there's sea in between. So you're sitting and having dinner, and you can see another village on the opposite side of the sea, which is very good. You can probably swim it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe not after dinner.
Yeah.
It's probably a bit dangerous. We didn't talk about the waterfalls, which
let's
are
talk
around.
about them now.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, waterfalls is just like I've had experiences in the middle of summer looking for waterfalls and not seeing them. So did you see waterfalls? Were they there?
Did you not go?
We didn't go. I don't.
Okay,
think.
so I went the first time.
Yeah.
When I went for the conference, it must have been March when we went, March or April. There were waters. We went, we saw the waterfalls,
March,
there was
April,
water. So I don't know what happened during the summer months, but I can vouch.
Ask the locals.
I can.
You saw.
I saw them.
Was it a trickle or was it an actual waterfall?
It was a waterfall, not huge, but it was a waterfall.
Okay, cool. And we know, loving your food, wine, gastronomy. What would the local production be? Do they have? I'm sure they have their own local production.
They do. So apparently, their lentils from the village of, I can't pronounce this. Egluvi is supposed to be super famous, and they even have a lentil festival on the 6th of August.
Oh wow, lentil! Oh God, who's going to eat lentils on the 6th of August? Like lentil feels like a winter thing. I mean, you can have it in cold in a salad.
Oh yeah, you can have it cold in a salad.
What about wines? There's obviously we've talked about there's a winery and wines are quite.
Yes, there's lots of wine. They grow a lot of grapes in Lefkada. I'm not exactly sure though what they produce. I would need to look into that. I personally remember.
We need to get our wine sommelier here.
We do
to give us a.
I personally remember the sweets. So they make. They produce a lot of olive oils as well. So they actually make a pie and a cake. It's not actually a cake. The pie is actually kind of a cake, and they make biscuits with oil. So they've got ladopita and ladogoulura. I personally loved the ladopita. Others
very oily. Is it very oily?
It's not very oily.
Pie.
I actually really liked it. And then they also are very famous for producing certain sausages, smoked sausages. And then you get like these sweets with honey and hazelnuts called mandolato. It's like a nougat. And of course the sesame pastels, which are famous all across Greece, I guess. But yeah, those are the main productions.
Yummy.
Yeah, the yummies.
I mean, before we close the episode, are you going to give some any top tips? I mean, we feel like we've covered a lot.
We have.
My main top tip.
Go on.
My main thing is take trainers for some of those beaches with steps, and take water. Very important for the unknown. Always have water with you.
So if you're doing that, you should probably have like a reusable cool bag with you on this island for sure.
We've never taken a cool bag. We should do that.
I always have one with me. You just haven't noticed it. We haven't needed it.
Okay.
So
Very observant.
I'll actually share at some point my top hacks with the callback. So I have like a material callback.
We need to do on Instagram, get ready with me, Greek Island edition.
if you
You know, like they do on on TikTok, but I mean on Instagram, like get ready with me to explore the Greek island.
if you're gonna do the
content,
if you're gonna do the camera stuff and then create the video, then George, I'm happy to be the model. So I pronounced the village wrong. I've been Googling it. So the lentils is from a village called Eglouvis.
Eglouvis.
Yeah, so apologies to my fellow friends
to
from
the best
Lefkada.
of us.
I mentioned a lot of top tips throughout the episode. We don't usually shout out specific places. However, I'm going to.
We need to tag them.
We will tag them. So there is a cafe in the village, in the town of Lefkada called Red Dot. I loved it so much. I think I even remember the street, and it has been years since I went. I'm pretty sure the street is called Philharmonikis. I'm literally gonna check my map.
Look it out. I mean, go there and say, my Greek Island podcast recommended it. 10% off, please, and see what they say.
It's they make desserts, okay?
Yeah,
and
you love your desserts. Perfect for the afternoon.
Yeah, Philharmonikis, and it's even dog friendly. So the street is called Philharmonikis. The cafe is called Red Dot. Red Dot, if you're listening, I love your banoffee pie.
I love banoffee pie.
They make these cakes, and I think they open in early afternoon. And you get there, and by 7 p.m. they were sold out. Like it was a joke. We were there at 5 p.m. one day, literally waiting for the banoffee pie to come out so we could have it. It's insane. Their desserts are insane. So if you're there, you need to try their
Everyone
desserts.
go to Red Dot.
Yes.
On that note, before we conclude this episode, it is time for our Greek word of the episode. And given the fact we have talked about Lefkada is a bit of a sailing heaven, I think we'll choose a phrase to say, I am going to Lefkada. I'm going sailing in Lefkada.
Ooh.
Or I'm going to Lefkada sailing. Anyway, one of those things. So if you don't, pre-warning, sailing is quite a hard word. And if you're not going to Lefkada for sailing, maybe you can just keep it in your back pocket just so you can impress people. So I'm going to break it down. So it's actually I am going sailing in Lefkada, which is what we're giving you. So I am going is θα πάω. Sailing για ιστιοπλοΐα. Για ιστιοπλοΐα στην Λευκάδα. In Lefkada. So all together, θα πάω για ιστιοπλοΐα στην Λευκάδα. Θα πάω για ιστιοπλοΐα στην Λευκάδα. Maria.
Θα πάω για ιστιοπλοΐα στη Λευκάδα. My Greek Islanders apologies, such a mouthful. What a mouthful.
But we're doing bite-sized Greek learning.
We
People
are
are getting used to that. They want more.
Yes.
So
please, pronounce it and send us the pronunciation and how you did. George will rate you and teach you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think we should.
Yeah. So, shall we wrap it up then?
I think we should. So thank you all for listening. And remember, if you do visit the island of Lefkada, let us know what you love and tag us and tag Red Dot if you go there.
Definitely. Until then, see you on the next episode. Γεια σας.
Γεια σας. Right, my Greek Islanders, this comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag @MyGreekIsland on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Ta leme.